I never thought a spilled cup of coffee could unravel my entire career. But here I am, telling you this story. And before I dive in, if you like these workplace stories, make sure to subscribe, it keeps me motivated to share more. I work at a mid-sized marketing agency in Chicago. I've been there for 3 years, and for the most part, I loved my job. My boss, Linda, was demanding but fair. My colleague Mark, however, was a different story. He had a way of charming upper management while quietly stepping on everyone else. The coffee incident happened on a Monday morning. Mark rushed past my desk, accidentally bumping into me. My coffee spilled across an important presentation deck I'd spent the entire weekend perfecting. I brushed it off as clumsy timing, but later that day, when Linda called me in to review the presentation, she said, "Mark already showed me this. Why are you giving me the same slides?" My jaw nearly hit the floor. Those were my slides. My design. My work. And somehow, Mark had already pitched them. That was the moment I realized I was in a fight I hadn't signed up for. But the real shock came later that week when I saw what else Mark had stolen. I stayed late Tuesday evening, determined to redo my deck before the client meeting. While digging through the shared drive, I noticed something strange. A folder with my initials, DL, but inside were projects I had never touched. They were all labeled under my name, yet the formatting screamed Mark. At first, I thought maybe it was an error. But then I found an invoice draft with my digital signature pasted onto it. He wasn't just stealing my slides, he was creating a trail that looked like I was taking credit for his work. The next morning, Linda pulled me aside. "I don't know what's going on, but the finance team flagged inconsistencies on your invoices. Get it sorted, please." I tried to explain, but she cut me off. "Just fix it." I walked back to my desk in a fog. My reputation was slipping right through my fingers. And if Mark was setting me up for financial misconduct, things could get dangerous fast. I decided to quietly watch him that day. And that's when I saw him whispering to the new HR manager, Rachel, glancing at me as they spoke. Something told me this wasn't just about slides anymore. By Wednesday, the office felt colder. People I usually joked with at the coffee machine suddenly avoided eye contact. Even my friend Jasmine from the design team seemed distant. At lunch, I overheard a conversation between two interns. I heard Daniel's been double billing clients. They said it so casually, like it was already common knowledge. My stomach dropped. Mark's scheme was spreading. I confronted Jasmine later, and she admitted what she'd heard. "Rachel said HR is looking into something about you." I knew then Mark wasn't working alone. He had planted seeds, and Rachel was watering them. That night, I decided to check the building's access logs. A friend from IT owed me a favor, and he quietly pulled my badge history. The results were shocking. Someone had used my credentials to enter the office Saturday night. But I was out of town with family. Someone had cloned my badge. The question now was, who had access to that kind of system? The IT friend, Miguel, leaned in and whispered, "Badge cloning isn't easy. You'd need admin-level access. And Mark doesn't have it." That narrowed the suspects. Rachel, the new HR manager, had joined only a month ago, but HR often had brought access. And she had been spending a suspicious amount of time with Mark. The next morning, Linda emailed me asking why a Saturday entry under my badge lined up with unauthorized downloads from our client database. She warned me, "If this continues, I'll have no choice but to suspend you." It felt like the walls were closing in. I tried confronting Mark directly, but he just smirked. "Maybe you should double-check your memory before blaming others." The confidence in his tone made my blood boil. Later that day, Miguel sent me another message. "Check the Slack export. You might find what you're looking for." I opened the file and froze. There it was, a private chat between Mark and Rachel, plotting to make Daniel look sloppy so Mark could secure a promotion. But that wasn't even the worst part. The Slack messages revealed something darker. They weren't just sabotaging me for a promotion. Rachel wrote, "Once he's out, compliance won't notice the client leak." That line made my skin crawl. They weren't only trying to ruin me, they were covering up something much bigger. I realized I was sitting on proof that could save me, but also bury them. The question was how to use it without tipping them off. I printed the chats and stored them in a folder at home. I couldn't risk leaving digital traces in the office system. But before I could even think about next steps, Linda called an emergency meeting. She announced that someone had leaked draft campaign concepts to a competitor. The client was furious. Our contract, worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, was suddenly at risk. Linda's eyes darted straight to me. "Daniel, care to explain why your login was tied to the downloads?" The entire room turned toward me. Should I speak up now, or wait until I had ironclad proof? Comment below, would you have exposed the Slack messages right then? I decided to hold my tongue. Exposing the Slack messages without context could make me look desperate. Instead, I told Linda calmly, I wasn't even in town. Someone used my credentials. She frowned. Then prove it. That night, I dug deeper. Miguel helped me trace the downloads to an IP address that wasn't mine. Strangely, it pointed to a Starbucks 2 miles from the office. Whoever did this was smart, they used public Wi-Fi. Meanwhile, whispers in the office grew louder. Someone left an anonymous note on my desk, better start packing. Still, I wasn't ready to fold. I started documenting everything, timestamps, chat logs, and even my family's receipts proving I was out of town. Then Jasmine texted me late one night, "You need to see this. Meet me tomorrow before work." When I saw what she had discovered, the entire picture shifted. Jasmine showed me an internal expense report. Rachel had reimbursed Mark for client dinners that never happened. Thousands of dollars in fake claims, signed off by HR. "This is bigger than sabotage," Jasmine whispered. "They're embezzling money." Suddenly, everything clicked. The fake invoices, the client leaks, the badge cloning, they were building a wall of lies and pinning it all on me. I knew I couldn't fight this alone anymore. It was time to take my evidence to someone with real authority. The problem? If I went to Linda and she was already doubting me, Mark and Rachel could twist the narrative. But if I stayed quiet, they would succeed in framing me for fraud and theft. I needed a strategy. That's when Miguel suggested something bold: set a trap. If they're using your credentials, feed them bait. The idea scared me, but it was the only way to catch them in the act. And the trap worked faster than I expected. I created a fake project folder on the shared drive. Inside, I planted dummy files labeled as Client Confidential, Launch Strategy. They looked legitimate but were filled with gibberish. Within 48 hours, the files were downloaded under my credentials. Miguel confirmed it. They took the bait. I immediately cross-referenced the badge logs. Once again, my ID had been used outside office hours. The trap had confirmed my suspicion: someone was actively impersonating me. But the real surprise came when I checked security camera footage. Miguel had quietly slipped me access to weekend archives. There, clear as day, was Rachel swiping a clone badge and logging into my workstation. The smoking gun. The next morning, before I could present my findings, Linda sent an email. "Daniel, report to HR. Effective immediately, you're suspended pending investigation." I packed my bag in silence, knowing the battle was just beginning. Suspension felt like a death sentence, but oddly, it gave me freedom. I was no longer trapped inside the office politics. I could plan without being watched. At home, I spread out my evidence: Slack chats, forged invoices, expense reports, badge logs, and now, the security footage. It was a puzzle with one clear picture: Mark and Rachel framing me to hide their embezzlement. I reached out to Jasmine and Miguel. Together, we built a timeline of their activities. Every fake invoice lined up with an expense dinner. Every leak happened right before Mark pitched fresh ideas to Linda. And every suspicious login matched Rachel's off-hours badge use. The only thing left was delivery. Who could I trust with the package? Linda was still under their influence. Going straight to HR would be suicide. Then Jasmine suggested the board of directors. They can't ignore this. And if money's missing, they'll care fast. So, I drafted a dossier and sent it, anonymously, to the board's audit committee. The fallout was immediate. By Friday, whispers in the office turned into outright panic. Linda called me personally. "Daniel, the board has requested an emergency audit. Do you know anything about this?" I played dumb. "I've been suspended, remember?" Within hours, auditors swarmed the office. They pulled expense reports, login histories, and even security footage. I wasn't there to see it, but Jasmine texted me updates in real time. Mark was called into a private meeting first. He came out pale, barely able to look anyone in the eye. Rachel went in next and didn't return for over an hour. That evening, Linda emailed me again. "We need to talk. The board is reviewing serious concerns, and your name has been cleared for now." It felt like the tide was turning. But the real confrontation hadn't happened yet. Monday morning, I walked into the office for the first time in a week. Heads turned. Some looked guilty, others relieved. Linda called me into the conference room. Mark and Rachel were already there. The tension was so thick it was hard to breathe. The lead auditor began, "We've reviewed all evidence. Daniel, you were wrongly implicated. Mark and Rachel, the financial discrepancies, forged invoices, and unauthorized access all point to you." Mark stammered. "This is a setup. Daniel planted everything." But then the auditor dropped the final piece, the security footage. Rachel's face drained of color as the video played. Linda looked furious. "You tried to destroy one of my best employees to cover your theft." Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that Mark wasn't finished. His eyes darted toward me with a look that promised payback. And unfortunately, I was right. Just when I thought it was over, the auditors revealed one more bombshell. The embezzlement wasn't just Mark and Rachel. There was a third account tied to the scheme. It belonged to Linda. My heart sank. The boss I had trusted was in on it. The cold stares, the refusal to believe me, the constant pressure, it all made sense now. Mark and Rachel were pawns. Linda had been orchestrating the bigger picture, and when things got messy, she let them take the fall. But what she didn't expect was that my dossier to the board had already flagged unusual approvals under her login as well. The board froze Linda's accounts on the spot. For the first time in weeks, I felt the weight shift completely off my shoulders. But the true resolution came later. In the following days, the board announced Linda's immediate resignation. Mark and Rachel were escorted out of the building. Word spread quickly, and suddenly, I wasn't the suspicious outcast anymore, I was the survivor. Clients were reassured that the audit proved my innocence. Some even called me personally to express support. Miguel and Jasmine were hailed as heroes for helping uncover the scheme. As for me, I was offered Linda's position, but I turned it down. I didn't want power, I wanted peace. Instead, I requested a transfer to another branch within the company. A fresh start. Before leaving, I walked past Mark's now empty desk. A sticky note remained on his monitor, "Play smarter, not harder." I smiled. He had played, but I had outlasted him. Still, the story didn't quite end there. Weeks later, I reflected on the chaos. The whole ordeal taught me more about corporate politics than any training ever could. I realized how fragile reputations are, and how quickly lies can spread in an office environment. One rumor, one forged document, one suspicious whisper, that's all it takes to dismantle someone's credibility. But I also learned the importance of allies. Without Jasmine and Miguel, I would have been finished. Loyalty in the workplace is rare, but when you find it, it's invaluable. The company implemented stricter security protocols. Badge access was overhauled. Expense approvals required dual sign-offs. And Slack channels were monitored more carefully. It was bittersweet watching the company heal, knowing how close it came to imploding. But I walked away with something better than a promotion. I walked into my new branch office on a sunny Monday morning. No whispers, no sabotage, just clean air and a fresh start. My first task was simple: rebuild trust, with myself, my team, and my career. Looking back, the moral is clear: corruption doesn't just happen at the top, it festers wherever ambition outweighs integrity. And in the workplace, silence can be just as dangerous as lies. I wasn't perfect. I hesitated when I should have spoken up, and I doubted myself more than once. But in the end, truth had its day. So, who do you think was worse, Mark, who started the sabotage, Rachel, who executed the fraud, or Linda, who orchestrated it all? And if you want more stories where workplace drama turns into real-life lessons, make sure to subscribe. You won't want to miss what comes next.